So here we have what is our immune system. It doesn't have a rhythm in the body. So there is no client whatsoever that you would work on that you wouldn't want to do some lymph. It's not that easy to find. It takes a while. It will take, probably as a class, there may not be a lot of lymph problems in here, so you may not find them. So when you're doing student clinic, I want you to start kind of feeling to try and find where and what lymph is. I'll come around and work on every one of you, have y'all work on each other until you feel it. Now, an interesting thing, and one of the reasons that there are different modalities, you know how for Swedish we have effleurage, petrissage, podiment, we have, you know, those type, we have different styles of moves that we make. With lymphatic, it is feathering, which would be a light feather. It's pumping, it's milking, it's scooping, so that you're constantly doing something, but you're doing it in a rhythm. Now, the reason that you're doing that is, say that this is, you know, obviously I'm not an artist, say that's your blood vein. It just goes straight, so it doesn't have anything in the way. Your blood's just going to flow all on its own. The lymphatic vein, which is just like a regular blood vein, has a semilunar effect to it, which is kind of like this. Do any of y'all know what a snapdragon is?
Yep.
It's a little flower that you pinch it and it opens. Well, if you don't, then what can I say? But my point is that when you're doing Swedish or something and you're massaging towards the heart, you're massaging, then you have an open run here. With lymphatic, you don't. It's going to go a little ways and stop because of this semilunar, you know, the type vein. The whole vein is this way. Then it's going to go a little bit further and stop. And each of these little veins will fill up. And that's what I'm going to teach you how to find and feel those. They're all throughout the body. If I showed you the cover of Chickley's book, The Silent Wave, it's lymphatic, and you would look at that and go, ooh, look, there's a good book on the blood system, on the blood veins, because that's what it looks like. There are all types. There's superficial. Lymph is in the fingers. It's everywhere in your body. There's superficial lymph, and then again there is the more, where you're doing more medical lymph. And a lot of people will come to you, especially women, and they will have a lump in their breast. And they're really scared. They're like, we feel this. What on earth is it? It usually, 9 times out of 10, it's a lymph node. And you'll get rid of it right then and there. And it's wonderful when you have clients that come in and they're worried. Come on, look at breast cancer nowadays. And men can get breast cancer too. It isn't just women. And so what you want to do is you want to really get your clients feeling real comfortable, let them know what you're doing, and explain the lymph system to them, because you are going to be up close and personal. And so you'll be tapping on that spot. And you'll tap and you'll scoop and you'll milk and you'll feather. And you'll keep doing it. And then pretty soon that lump is gone. Then what you have is a client that not only feels like you've saved their life. I mean, I would be worried, any woman would, you can imagine, if they felt a lump. A guy, if he feels a lump, like what's going on? What's happening? What's going on in here? Prostate is one of the #1 killers. Prostate cancer is one of the #1 killers of men right now. Keeping their groin area, the inside of the legs are huge lymph veins. Keeping that area clean on a man and flowing good, it really makes a big difference. They don't get the poison, the toxin buildup. Another interesting thing about lymphatic is that your fecal matter, your perspiration, your sweat, your urine, everything that you eliminate from the body is getting rid of poisons. It's getting rid of stuff in the body that shouldn't be there. It's amazing that what all of those systems, our endocrine system, what it cannot get rid of goes into the lymph system. So now what we have is a situation where the very worst toxins and poisons that are in your body are in a system that doesn't have a rhythm, and they are in a system that can basically slowly but surely take you down. you will get sicker and sicker and sicker. So the lymphatic, I'm very passionate about it. I am. I know it keeps me healthy. It keeps me going. If all these other elimination processes in my body can't get rid of the worst poisons in my body, makes you really stop and think. And yet the lymphatic system can get rid of those poisons. And then what happens is it goes back into the bloodstream. So with my wonderful artwork here, what we will be doing is kind of pumping and tapping and scooping. And as I do a demonstration, I'll talk you through all of it. So don't worry about if I'm going fast now. We will learn how to pump these and open these up. Now this is the lymph vein, and then say here you have, like on the demonstration or the paper that I gave you, here's all these little lymph nodes. And they branch out, and there are, I've read that there's 400, I've read there's 700, I've read a lot of different things about the lymph. And doctors rarely ever talk about it. We're just now hearing about the lymph system. After all these years, we're really just now hearing about the lymph system. And yet, once again, to reiterate, it's our immune system. It's what keeps us healthy. And so we have this lymph vein then that goes into the lymph nodes. Some lymph nodes are very obvious and very large, and some are small. So I want to clear this lymph vein. So what am I going to do? So I'm going to go proximal. I'm going to go right to where you can see on the paper. I'm going to go right to where some of these larger lymph nodes are, and I'm going to pump and scoop, and I will demonstrate that for you. I'm going to empty some of these lymph nodes. They will go back into the blood system, and then the blood system will take care of it and go ahead and eliminate it. In a way, think of it as like a coffee filter that got blocked, and it wouldn't drain anymore. And so you're going to go in and you're going to scoop and pump and feather and work with that so then it can drain back out. It'll go back into the blood system. Your body gets rid of it, and then the worst toxins that you have, what really can get you sick, are gone. Okay? So basically, now I'm going to go ahead and do a demonstration, and what I'm going to show you how to do is I'm going to teach you the basic moves in it. Explain to the client with touch that I'm going to have to be up close and personal in the inguinal area. I'm going to have to be in here in the inner side of the leg and the outside. I'm going to have to be up in the breast area, letting them be as comfortable and covered as possible. And I'll show you there's different ways that you can do that. I like to explain to them what we're doing. It's good to have a small handout to give them also, so that they understand how important a lymphatic massage is. Not very many people are successful with getting through lymph massages. They do superficial lymph massage beautifully, but to get in and do a completely medical therapeutic massage is not that easy. There's a touch to it. You can get good enough that you can have one finger on a vein and another finger, and you will feel two different rhythms. And you'll realize, whoa, that's the blood vein and that's the lymphatic vein. That's how good you can get. When you practice and really work at it, you can really learn. And then again, people's bodies are really different. There's some people you'll work on that you'll lymph node, feel it immediately. You'll know that they're there, and there's some where it's like, I'm not sure, I just can't quite feel it. Women are more prone to lymph than men, especially in the top. But men, however, do have where they need to be cleared, especially in the medial areas of the thigh and up into the groin area. So in starting a massage, and you might want to do this, there's some routines written out. You may want to write over that routine different things. But to start with it, I want to get a rhythm going in her body. So I'm just going to gently take the foot. I want the legs straight, and I would be clearing, I'd be pumping and trying to get a rhythm into the groin area. So you don't want the knee bent, and you don't want to be too aggressive. And this is not what we're doing. I see a lot of people that they go, oh, I'm pumping. This is not pumping, okay? The lymph in the foot, by the way, is in the toe areas in here, If you wanted to just kind of wake up a little bit of lymph, you can wake it up, say hello to it. In this area is the lymph, and in the top, so you can say hello maybe to each one of the feet, and just start with the reflexology. Start working so that you just said hello and you get that lymph working, just that teeny bit. And then I want her entire body to start working with a rhythm with myself and her body. So I'm going to start. See how her chin is moving? This is what I want it to be. I'm coming straight through the groin area. Think of it as going all the way like a straw, all the way up and through the top of the head. You'll pump this about 10, 15, 20 times, again, depending on the client, how bad they need it, what they have going, what kind of lymph system is compromised or isn't. So I'm straightening the leg over the bolster. I'm not pumping the foot this way. I'm using the entire foot and pumping the body. And I really do, if you will just kind of close your eyes, take a little time, and think about the areas that you're working on. Intent is so important. It really makes a difference. So there, I've done 30 of those. So I'm pumped. I'm getting the inguinal, the groin area going with that. Now I'm going to come up and I'm going to pump along here. Pump up a little over the iliac crest, very, very gently. If you're at the bottom of the abdomen, you don't want to go over the kidneys or anything. So I'm going to pump this side. And I normally would not reach across the table. You want to, work on the side of the table that you're standing on. But I'm going to go ahead and do it this way just for the filming purposes. And so I'm pumping here. So we got a rhythm going already. And that's what's great. It's like, all right, now we've got a little bit of a rhythm going. I want to kind of stay in contact with her so she doesn't get nervous. My transition's good. And then I have my palms toward the inside, right below the clavicle. Now I'm just going to reverse that. Do. Are you feeling okay? Mm-hmm. Just getting started. There's a lot. The lymph nodes, as I said, tonsils are lymph nodes. So there's complete routines that you can do in the face area, clearing the jaw, and you'll see there in your paper, there's a complete diagram of 2 different facial exercises that you can do. And just because of time, I'm going to go ahead and move a little bit quicker normally than I would. You want this drape to be secure enough so that they can hold it, okay? So as I'm going to start working, you don't need to right now, but in a second you will. I want to start off by just showing you what the moves are. You will incorporate your effleurage, your pétrissage, your Swedish moves. You will incorporate your Swedish moves into this, but there are specific ones that are are strictly for lymph. You have scooping, which would be like this. You have pumping. You have light knuckle feathering. So you have different type moves that you make, other than you've learned like with your mouthwash, your Swedish, and other things. So to do proximal to distal, I'm going to be coming up here into this area, because what do we say? We want to clear the big lymph nodes first so that then the rest of the body can go ahead and get rid of its toxins and they have a place to go. So as I work with Tina, I'm just going to go ahead and get all the lotion that I need on her body right now. In New Mexico, it's against the law to work under the sheet. So again, I use my sheet as a tool a lot of times. And in lymph, I feel like it's very important because all this is loose, but if I'm holding here, when I get into this groin area and work in this area, they feel like they are totally secure when they're doing it. So I want to kind of clear out this area right here. Working on the medial part for doing lymph, that's really difficult. It's difficult. We don't know exactly, what's happening in here, and we want to be sure we don't make any mistakes and that we don't upset our clients or do anything out of hand. Yeah, Tobel?
Can we do a frog leg to do the inner side?
Absolutely. And that's kind of what I'm going to show you. So you could do frog leg with them supine or prone, either way. So I want to get in here and clear this. So I'm going to have Tina hold this because I'm going to go into the groin area. Again, I feel like a blanket. Just relax your leg for me. I feel like a blanket is always a wonderful thing to have because they feel more secure just with the blanket on them. And for filming too, I don't want to expose anything, or we're not working in a room by ourselves with the clients. So what I want to do to get to the inside of this, now I can pull her leg up and I can put my leg right here to hold her leg so both of my hands are free. And whatever your own art is, that's what I really want more than anything, is for y'all to come up with what's comfortable for you. Once a client is comfortable enough, I'm kind of rocking and pumping her leg a little bit. Then you can also do it, just let your leg relax out. Now nothing at all is showing. Any work I'm going to do, I'm going to make sure she's holding the sheet underneath so she already feels the tightness and security of it. So any work that I'm going to be doing in here is going to be where she feels really secure and can relax. And the more your clients know you and know that you're educated and understand that you know what you're doing, they're going to want this done. People that have restless leg syndrome at night, they can't sleep, they get, cramps or spasms in their calves and stuff. A lot of times that's lymph. So you're getting rid of it. So I'm going to start with a very easy feathering. The reason I'm doing this is I'm feeling for the vein. And right here I can feel this is her lymph vein. Can you tell that this is a little more tender than other spots? You can't feel it right here? So this one especially is larger. So this is definitely a lymph vein, and I'm going to trace it into the groin area, and then I'm just going to pump. So I'm pumping lightly. Pump, pump, pump. I come up underneath here and pump. Because those big lymph nodes, I'm proximal to distal. Proximal to distal, and I want to clear all these out so that all this lymph vein that I'm getting ready to work and all these other lymph nodes and superficial lymph can be cleared. So I'm in here and I'm pumping, and I normally would take longer. I would try and find and get, you're going to want to feel what's going on in here, but that's the perfect way that I can come to this side and get the medial part. And so I kind of have worked the medial. I find this vein now. This is pumped out. I've got some of the larger lymph nodes emptied. So now I find the vein, and I may feather. I may pump it ever so slightly if I feel a little bit deeper one, or I run across a big lymph node, and it feels kind of like a little fatty pocket. If I run across a big lymph node, I'm going to stay right there, and I'm going to pump that lymph node. And there may be some tenderness in there. Sometimes it's very tender, and that's one of the reasons that there's a fear factor involved. And so as you're scooping, you're milking, I can come under here and I can milk this, again getting into the areas that I want to empty, that I want to just get all this emptied out. And normally, although we're not doing it in this order, normally I would have done her abdominal area so that this would also have a place to go. However, some body types, it's best to do the abdomen last. And it's amazing how everybody's different. Just like all of us have different fingerprints, every single one of our bodies are different. And you'll learn to do that. So then I'm scooping, I'm feathering, I'm doing light knuckle work. But what I did, as much as anything, and what is as important as anything, is I found this lymph vein. So I know that this is already compromised all the way down her leg. So as I work with this lymph vein, I'm doing a little proximal work, little scooping, little milking, a little feathering, and then I would move on down. Now this may take a lot longer than the time I'm showing you. This may. And when you schedule these, you may say, we can do the bottom half and it'll take an hour to an hour and a half, and then we can schedule you again to get the top half, which will take an hour to an hour and a half. And then that way you don't get them too sick, they understand what's going on. And so I'm scooping, I'm pumping, I'm feathering, and then I feel this lymph vein all in here. A really nice move is like, just I'm coming up with the bottom and just kind of pushing down, like if I were opening something, like a little pinchment thing. So I'm kind of like pinching and opening so that I know that that lymph vein, where the semilunar vein, it gets clogged. I'm coming in here and I'm scooping, I'm pumping, I'm milking, and I'm following this lymph vein. I can see and feel where it gets right behind the knee a lot. I may come behind this knee or under this knee. I may rock the knee a little so that I've got a rhythm going. And so I'm pumping, scooping, and then just a good, nice effleurage. Coming back into this area again. Now, I'm going to take kind of control of this situation, and I'm going to have you lay your hand here. I'm at the superior part of the table. I'm holding this sheet myself now because I want to know that I have full control. I'm going to move the blanket a little bit so that you can see. And then I'm going to come in here and I'm going to milk, pump, scoop, feather. I'm just going to do all the different moves. I'm going to feel for larger lymph nodes. And then I feel a larger one right in here, so I'm going to pump that. Clean that coffee filter, if you will, for just the lack of a better example. I can feel it in here. I'm pumping, and then I will scoop and pump. I want to come down and scoop and pump. Scoop and pump. Holding this is a wonderful tool for me because I know that I can really get right in here. I'm going to milk it a little bit more. Milk it a little, find that vein, feel where it was, and just kind of little pinches, and they aren't really pinches, but just little kind of, I'm just barely coaxing that lymph vein to open, just that little bit so that it flows. I'm coaxing and coaxing. And your lymph is all over the body, on the inside and on the outside. And as you feel lymph, you're going to be real surprised. You'll go, I've never felt that before. After all the clinic you've done and the Swedish massages and all the other modalities, you'll be surprised because it's nice always to learn. And then when you feel, I've never felt that. I've done all these massages and I've never felt that on a person. So you're training your hands to do some very, very specific, important work. And it's not as easy as it may seem. So to work in the chest area, or in the arm area, all in here would be where it shows on the diagram is where the lymph nodes are. Now say that I just kind of did a bypass on her like this, and I could feel that there was a lot of stuff going on this side of her breast. I want her to feel very comfortable when I work on her. So I may ask her, I may say, Tina, will you please take this hand and just hold your breast for me? Sometimes, not very often, but sometimes you'll come to the other side of the table. I need to be able to see what's going on in here. I'm going to work over the sheet for her privacy. There may be times you never want to expose the nipple itself, considered the breast, but the tissue around it is where most of the lymph nodes are. So because it's just your privacy and I want you to have your privacy, I'm going to come in here and I'm going to start working the proximal part of the arm and just kind of feel what's in here. And right now I'm kind of working.
Keep my arm this way, or?
Just right now, just keep your arm that way is fine. And so I'm feeling kind of what's going on in here. So I know where some of the larger lymph nodes are that I'm going to try and get to. So proximal to distal work. What I'm going to do in here is I'm going to start with her arm. And I want to start up here. Now we've all learned that there are different ways that you can hold an arm or work an arm. Some people are going to want to hold it this way and work in here. This is one of the ways that I'll do it to get in here. And then some of you are going to want both hands free. I really like this method because just like with the leg, I want to find the vein. Because I have learned over thousands of massages that if I find the right lymph vein, if I find a big lymph vein, it's going to direct me to the most compromised area of her body. There's lymph everywhere. All of this is covered with lymph. But if I get sensitive enough to it, and you can feel the tenderness of it, then I can trace this lymph vein to where the lymph nodes are. And in here, then I'm going to pump. And I'm going to start working where these are. Now this is very gentle work. Very gentle. She already said with us just touching it that it was sensitive. So we certainly don't want to get in and hurt her, although sometimes it does. And so I want to pump. I want to clear this whole auxiliary area. I'm going to do some scooping. I'm going to do a little bit of milking. I want to do some feathering on this lymph vein to get the lymph moving from the vein into the lymph node as we empty the lymph node. Then also in this chest area, these are emptying too. So we're working, we're emptying the lymph, we're emptying the lymph. May come in a little bit down here and empty. Up around this area. Pumping, pumping, pumping. Scooping, and then again distal to proximal. Now I just felt a really large lymph vein right there. Does that feel tender to you here? This one was not near as bad. So if you can relax your arm, put it behind your head. Sometimes I will actually go to this part of the table, hold the sheet up because it's against the law to go under the sheet. And I will come down here again and again, catching the side of the breast and coming down into here, working it into that colon, which again, I'm going to do the colon separately. It's really important. And right underneath the breast is the, it starts with the P. It's a little pocket, and it holds a lot of lymph. So I'm scooping in here, and I can work over this sheet. Always work over the sheet if you're uncomfortable, and you'll learn to feel, you'll learn to get comfortable, as well as your clients will learn to be really comfortable with you too. So you're pumping and you're scooping. Okay? So basically kind of what you've just seen tonight. It isn't a lot, but I want you to try and find some lymph veins, and I want you to try and find some lymph nodes. I know it's just the very beginning, but that is the beginning of the work, is start finding. Remember, always proximal. I want to be up here and emptying the lymph nodes, and you have pictures of where they are, but don't always trust pictures. I have found huge, fat, really some serious lymph nodes around the knee area because it got so trapped in here that then the vein filled up, and after the vein filled up, it picked up on some other larger lymph nodes that were in here behind the knee and in the knee area, and then that filled up. And the next thing, you were down around the ankles, and it was full. And the person was very, very toxic, very, very sick. And it took quite some time. It took about 6 months, coming about every 2 weeks. And finally her lymph system, and not to mention the weight loss, the health, it was tremendous what it did for her body. She dedicated herself. She financially said, I am going to commit to this. Her time, she said, I'm going to commit to this, and she did it. So just do remember that it lasts 12 to 48 hours. And if you get a call, you want to be glad if they get, not glad, of course, but let them know that it's very normal if they're going to have an upset stomach, or if they feel sick, or if they get a headache, because their body's detoxing. And it's doing it the most beautiful, natural way in the world. And that's by massage. It's not by any chemicals that you're putting in your body or anything, and overworking the liver, overworking the kidneys. They're working naturally, and they're going to be working hard enough.
They're getting the runs the same way?
Sometimes people have very strange bowel movements. They may get the runs. Some people actually get constipated because so much hits at once. So you just need to let them know that there could be some changes in their bowel movements or something. Right, next, the colon massage, the lymphatic colon massage. I think y'all are all familiar with the colon. You have the ascending colon, you have the transverse colon, you have the descending colon, and then you have the rectum where it comes out. Now, when you're doing a lymph massage, the places, this sigmoid colon down in here, it's kind of obvious looking at this where things are, because of gravity, where things are going to kind of pool or catch. So you're going to have a bit of a little more fecal matter in here than you are right in here. You're going to have a little bit more fecal matter in here because there's a turn. You're going to have a little bit more lymph and fecal matter to work with in here. And then right here in the cecum is definitely where there's going to be some more fecal matter. Right here at the ileocecal valve is where the small intestine goes into the large intestine. You want to be real careful around it, but people sometimes are real tender and they need that. Just sometimes 1 or 2 or 3 little L-shaped moves will open that up, because there is a valve that can block and a lot of it in there. So as we do this, we are first going to start emptying here. We want to feel what's going on. We want to pump, we want to feather, we want to scoop, and we want to milk. We want to start here, then come up, and then empty to here, proximal to distal. Come up, empty to here. As we feel that the descending colon at that point has started to clear itself out, then you're going to be working with these turns. And just because of the nature of them, this can get real heavy too. But if you come over here to this flexure, this turn, then you can scoop and you can feel with your hands. That's why we're massage therapists. These are tools, and they're important tools. And so you scoop and get that down. You come across, you come into here. Same principle. You want to find and feel where there feels like there's blockages. You want to scoop that, milk it until it's here, and then you want to come to here. Meanwhile, doing some sun and moon and some full circles around it. In the very middle, you'll have the belly button. Right to the left of the belly button is one of our largest lymph nodes. And it is usually very tender, and it's usually about the size of a soft-boiled egg. You want to pump and work that in between each of these stages, or just intuitively, whenever you feel like that needs to be emptied, you're going to pump and clear that out and be bringing it on down to the rectum, and so that it will leave the body. And that's one of the reasons, one of your questions asking about, do we have bowel movements, the runs, what happens? By the time we have flushed and cleaned this colon out, there's things that have come out of people. You hear stories, you can read them in many of the medical books. You know, a child swallowed a coin. He's in his 30s now. He gets a colon, you know, a lymphatic massage, gets the colon worked on, the coin comes out. After it's been in there all that time, people that swallow gum. There's a very interesting article on lymphatic massage. A person had swallowed gum since they were very, very small, swallowed it just like candy in one of these lymph massages, this big wad of gum that had been in there. You know, so you don't ever know. You know, it's amazing the things that will come out that have stayed in your colon forever. John Wayne died of a tumor that was 65 pounds right here in his colon. Didn't know about it, you know. So you can imagine, no telling what hangs out in there, but we're going to get rid of the bad stuff and make sure the good stuff stays. So as we're going to do the colon massage, and I want to just teach you how to drape because it's done a different way. There's so many different ways to do things. But basically, I have this towel, and I'm going to cover her chest area, her breasts. I'm going to have Tina, would you please hold the top of that? And you can see there's total control here. And as I bring this down, I can tuck it right in here and here. And then I can tuck this under so that the entire colon is showing, and yet she feels completely safe. So as the colon goes, this is the ascending, transverse, descending. Now what I want to just kind of say hello to the area, warm it up a little bit. So I'm going to use just a little lotion. And I'm working clockwise, coming across the transverse, just to get the lotion going. Okay, I want to get rid of anything that's hanging out down here in the lower part of the descending colon. I'm going to pump, I'm going to tap, and I'm going to kind of feel. Can you feel that right there? She could even feel that I'm on a lymph node. Sometimes you can't tell whether it's a lymph node or whether you can't tell. I mean, it's either going to be a lymph node or it's going to be fecal matter. Either way, you want them both out. Not the lymph node, but to clear the lymph out. So we're scooping and pumping in here. Just working it, maybe come from the side a little bit to just kind of feel what's going on. Pick it up, feather, scoop, feather. Coming up a little bit higher now. And then right here, I feel for the Prior's patch. I'm feeling for where that big lymph node is. And it's right there. Now this is an incredible tool to use with anyone that's in a possible situation of a heart attack. Clear this out. Get this aorta working really, really good in here. Sometimes when I start a colon massage like this, I cannot feel a heartbeat here. You should be able to feel one. By the time I've finished, I'm always checking to make sure that I can feel a good, strong heartbeat and know that I have cleared as much of this out as I could. So I'm coming up. I want to kind of work on this turn. You want to be careful now because you have, like in the ribs, the right side here you have the liver, and then you have the gallbladder, then you have the pancreas, then you have the stomach. So you want to be careful. You got a lot of stuff that's in here, and I know you're all aware of it, so just be careful. So I'm emptying. Now I feel some more stuff in here, and that feels like a lymph node right next to some fecal matter. So I'm feeling for the round bumps. I'm feeling for anything actually that I feel like needs to come out of there, but you'll be able to tell with experience with your hands. So then I can come across, maybe do a sun and a moon, maybe do another sun and a moon, just to kind of comfort her. And then I'm coming across here, right in here, right below the xiphoid process. You do not want to be on that bone. You want to be below it a little ways, but right in there, you'll feel another emotional spot. And emotions, believe it or not, tighten up everything. Emotions are going to tighten up how we breathe, our breathing, everything, tightens up with those emotions. So you do breath work all the way through lymph. And I've neglected saying it 100 times like I normally should or would have. Deep breath in and relax. Deep breath in and relax. And then you gently feel it. And you can feel where I'm working that area. And things are moving as they should be. And then I'm coming across this way, coming to the descending. And then I'm just going to do so that the camera can film. Then I'm just going to work my way up gently. I'm pumping. I'm scooping. I'm feeling what's going on. And again, we are massage therapists, and our hands and our intuitive self are our biggest asset. That, and of course, you must know your A&P. You must know your A&P. You certainly wouldn't want to back everything up here and think, oh, I should go the other way. You want to know to go clockwise. You want to know those kind of things. So the sun and the moon, finding this spot and pumping it is really important. You will feel it empty. Now, it may be difficult on some of the y'all in here. You don't have much of a lymph problem, but when you work with your clients, that's when you want to really get in there and feel what's going on. And then to redrape her, I would literally just pull this up, tell her to please hold this, and then without trying to hit her in the face or anything, I'm gently going to pull this towel out. Now, if I had chosen to go from the colon to the breast, I would have left the towel on her and had her hold the towel and work around the towel area. Okay?
So you would start head up from feet to...
I would do the pumping and then probably do the legs, the colon. I would work my way up. But again, it depends on the body. Say somebody's just very top heavy. And that's where they need it more than anything else. Then I'm going to start with the colon, and then I'm going to come and do the arms, clear from underneath the armpit area, clear the arms, get into the chest, go into the colon again. And sometimes you repeat it. Well, you know, sometimes I can say, you know, I can feel where this filled up again. And so, you know, a wonderful thing to do, you can tap. This kicks in the thyroid, the thymus. These are just, and then there's entire books now on the tapping cure, where you can really wake things up, the lymph system and everything. You can wake them up, and you know, even around the colon, just tapping around the colon. Topotomen, if you will, is a Swedish modality, but the, you know, topotomen, tapping, scooping, sun and moon. You okay? Mm-hmm. Thank you so very much. I appreciate it. Oh, and there's so much more. All that's going to go in here. We'll do another night tomorrow and use other examples so that you can learn hopefully as much as possible. I want to review with y'all what the strokes are for lymphatic. You want to also include all of your Swedish moves, because a lot of times just a slow, good effleurage is going to help any of the fluids that you've been working on to go in the direction of the heart as they should, or in the direction of the lymph when you're working on lymphatic. So you have like a pumping stroke that you use. You'll be using both hands at any time. Y'all have done the front, so you understand that. You have a milking stroke that you use. You have scooping, because when you become more in tune with lymph vessels and lymph nodes, you're scooping. And then you have pumping. And you can topotomen very, very lightly, pump very, very lightly. But if you have found, and you will, I think you've all felt some at least, if you feel a lymph node in the areas, especially in the axillary, in the armpit area, around the sides of the breast, around the colon, left side especially, left of the belly button, in the inguinal or groin area, and in here, you probably will be able to isolate and feel larger lymph nodes. Those can be very, very tender. So it's tap, 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 scoop, scoop, feather, feather, which you can do with fingers or knuckles. So you tap, 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 feather, feather, pump, 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 pump. Move it in the direction that you want it to go. You all have the charts where everything should be draining into here, or in the lymphatic. That's where the largest nodes are, in the groin area. And so you want to be very gentle with those, because those are very tender. But what's wonderful is that if you stick with it and work with it and drain it where it should go, it's almost like instant gratification, because you can feel a really large compromised lymph node literally go down to the regular small size. And that just takes working out there with your clients, feeling the intent, taking responsibility for what you find when you find it. So I'm going to go ahead and start with Anthony. And what I want you to realize, you okay there, Anthony?
Yeah.
My hands are going to be a little bit cold. I'm sorry. I'll warm them up here for just a second. So you're going to be draining in this area. I want everything to come underneath the armpit, even pulling it underneath where the jaw, that's also the lymph nodes. Remember, there's 5 tonsils. 2 that they take out, they get real infected, and 2 below that, and then 1 in here. But so you want to be working and scooping and pumping and going in the directions again, and I know I keep saying it, but I really want you to realize that there is a place you want to drain this. So I'm going to have to go ahead and uncover you now. So as you start with the lymph, I would, you can start where your intuitive self tells you. You usually have already done them supine, so you've done the front of the body already. So you're coming in here and you're just kind of checking to make sure that the jaw is, that you've emptied that jaw out. And then you come in here and it's like you can pump towards that auxiliary area. You can pump. And there's a lot of superficial lymph that can help build up so that you can find lymph vessels and stuff too. So I may do some raking, I may do some scooping, and then I want to come in here and definitely do the pumping underneath the armpit in this auxiliary area. Scoop, scoop, scoop. You can pump, you can milk, you can feather, and you're getting all this drained into here and then pulling it up into here. On men, this is a really good way to clear them, and it's really wonderful with ladies because you don't have to worry about breast tissue or something being in the way or embarrassing them, or we're just as modest as they are. They don't realize it, but it's a really good position to get in here and clear the sides on breast tissues. And so you're coming in here and you're working. We'll get a little lotion. So I'll be scooping, pumping, milking, feathering, be gentle with this. You're coming way up in here, finding lymph nodes. Pumping, scooping, feathering. Can always do hand over hand or whatever feels like the tissue needs, because all tissue's different, body sizes, and so we're pumping and we're scooping. And I'm kind of dividing this up. I'm going, okay, this feels like this fluid wants to come towards the groin area. This feels like it wants to come underneath the auxiliary area. And I want to make sure I'm draining that jaw, the clavicle area, around those scalenes, down into these rhomboids. Pumping, pumping, pumping. and the body already usually has a rhythm going. Especially if you've done the front, because you've already done a lot of the pumping. You feel these little lymph vessels. You come and you pump and pump on them. Milking. You may want to drop the arm off of the table and come all the way in and do some nice scoops and then pumps. It's always going to be what you feel in that client. That's the important thing. Everybody's different, and so you want to be sure that where you're working on them and what they need, that you're very aware of what would be tender. The superficial pumping is important because there's so much lymphatic superficial stuff coming in, pumping in here. And again, you may want that arm off the table if you can get to more tissue that way. In here, be very, very tender with women's breasts. But this is the most wonderful way to find a lymph node and not feel like that they're compromised with their integrity or modesty. And you can pump and get it into here and maybe do a little rocking. So that you can get individual little lymph nodes. And then whoever's going to have Anthony, because I'm just doing a demo here, I want y'all to go ahead and just do him as you switch out partners. And I'll go ahead and show the legs. So you know basically the arm, clear the vessels in the arm, the lymph vessels, the pumping and the scooping, getting it up underneath the auxiliary, the superficial work that's light in the body, and then going in a bit deeper to actually hit the lymph nodes. Okay, so what I'm going to have Anthony do for me is we're going to do the frog leg, which y'all have all learned. Okay, and Anthony, if you will just grab this with your hand. And then I want you to pull the frog leg up for me. Okay, great. That's almost too high. Are you comfortable with that? Your leg laying off the table? Wonderful. So now what I really have is a wonderful place to be able to get a man, because again, prostate cancer being one of the #1 killers of men, you want to keep all of this stuff as clear as you can, any of the fluids that need to flow. You've already done the front of the legs, so you've already pumped a lot into the groin area. So now we're going to come and try and get in here and pump into there. Okay? The nice thing about this position, scoot over a little for me, Anthony, so that we can view. There you go. The nice thing about this position is that with a guy, you can always even, and I don't want you leaning across the table a lot. You may need to lower your table for this. But if a scooping and then pumping into this groin area, because I'm right in his groin area now, and yet he's completely protected. I'm not doing what with New Mexico would be against the law. I'm not going under the sheet. I can come all the way to here and pump in this area and maybe be on top or on the edge of the sheet even. This is also wonderful for sciatic, any of these deep six. It's wonderful for that, just for loosening up anything in the pelvic girdle, because the IT band and a lot of these muscles are what will trap the greater trochanter, which then leads into the glutes, the end of the low back. Everything is connected. So you can do it this way. You can come underneath with these milking strokes. Find that vessel. The vessel that you're going to feel that's the largest is right medial in here. And then you might want to just scoop, pump, feather. It's kind of pumping and milking. You can combine strokes. It's not like you aren't pumping, milking, scooping in a way sometimes all at the same time. And then they aren't compromised. Again, your modesty, my modesty, his modesty. This is also another way, and I can't have him in this position without taking advantage of this. If you need to do a myofascia move along this IT band, this is a wonderful way to do that. People that have sciatic problems, it's a wonderful way to get in and work these, do these pressure points. Remember, these pressure points, this is L1, L2, L3, L4, and L5 can all be found in here, so you can come up and even give just a little attention to the vertebrae, the lumbar vertebrae that feels real tight in there. So this is really just a great way to be able to do the lymphatic, and remembering that the lymph in the feet are around the top of the ankles and in the toes, so that you stimulate with reflexology the neuromuscular, the lymphatic system, so that it knows it's supposed to be worked. So again, the scooping, pumping, feathering, milking, coming up, and finishing with some really nice long strokes. Now that was real fast. You know what you're feeling for now. Just to reiterate one time, I'm going to draw this little picture for you on the blackboard. So, I've explained once, but I just want to go over one more time and say that the blood vessels would all basically, and of course you know that they're it's like spaghetti, but the blood vessel is like this. The lymphatic node vessel, has the semilunar vein. So in this vein, the way to, like the snapdragon flower that you would pinch and it would open its mouth, it's kind of like the reason we're saying scoop and pump and milk and pump and milk and feather and in the rhythmic way is because these would be like if I was pumping and scooping this, it would be opening and draining, opening and draining, opening and draining. Now this little spot right here that I drew, these 2 inches maybe, is probably from here to here. It's just, who knows on the arm. It could be this far. So you really want to follow that vein, because as you follow that vein, it's leading to where the largest cluster of lymph nodes are going to be. And that's a wonderful guideline. Rather than just trying to go and locate them, learn to feel the lymph. You can actually have a finger on a blood vein and a finger on the lymph, and if you are quiet in the body, you have your client in their body too, and you listen, what you will feel is that there is a different rhythm in these. You'll feel the doom 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 regular heart here, and this will be kind of like a choo, and then it'll wait a little bit longer, choo, but you can feel the pulses. You have to be very quiet, very serious when you're doing it. It's not something you're going to just, with loud music playing or something like that, be able to get into. But there's wonderful value in times of hardly any music or anything, and really getting into that client, taking responsibility for this lymph vein, and then following it to the lymph nodes, which I had drawn out. Basically, lymph nodes can be all over. You can have a smaller one, a bigger one, a smaller one. And always we're working proximal to distal. So that means that you're always going to start closest to the body, the proximal area, empty, 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 empty these big lymph nodes, so that when you start working on the vein, which it will lead you to them, you're pumping and scooping and working this area, but then when you find that vein, it's going to take you to the most compromised lymph nodes that there are. And lymph nodes, once they fill up, they can become hard, they can become tumorous. I mean, we don't really even know to this day. We're still learning about the lymph system. We don't even know to this day what all it does. There's lots of speculation, lots of tests, lots of things I'd like to say that have been proven, because they have, but it hasn't been put in a medical book yet, that you do not want to let lymph nodes get compromised. Remember, a lymph system is your immune system.